Hi everyone, it's Justin Aquino of Game the Brain. So I'm just giving an update. Um, just summarizing my blog post. At the gates of an empire waves the black flag of orcs. 1B market value for the orcs. Um, I'm a stakeholder as Game in the Brain uses OGL 1.0 A for Ning. Yeah, I've watched all the analysis. I don't know if you know me already. You know that I've looked at the financial side and the legal side of it. And again, I'm just an arts graduate who just happened to self-study all these things and use it for my games and my stuff at well as work. Yeah, so here's my experience when he says when this is talking about Ryan Dancy's article about his involvement uh, with the architect as being the architect. Yes, it's a shocking claim, but if you've done open source projects, so I've migrated our family business to a lot of open source projects, and yeah, it's when no one believes you, you have to second guess yourself all the time, and the evidence in the analysis, particularly in the network externalities study, is clear that the solution is to reduce the cost to reduce the cost of adoption to the point that you're going to make it free and you're going to make it open like software did. It's such a hard sell. If you think about it, people will complain that you only did that for software. Why does it apply to games? And again, you will be people will second guess you. You will second guess yourself, and you will have You will have the skills to do the analysis and evidence analysis of the evidence, and you will no one. It'll be very difficult, and there'll be armchair experts and backseat experts all telling you otherwise. And the thing about it is, it worked. It became 1B. It became a big deal. So yeah, we're gonna go join Orc. And of course, we're gonna go join Orc. And in fact, I'm kind of like adopting GPL, General Public License version 3, where we make the document, the Microsoft Word doc available for for you guys, so you can really call this make your own. Uh, um, call this if you can make a better product, please do, and I'll buy your shit. If you if you like our product, then yeah, thank you. But I this is meme is in my frustration in finding a hard sci-fi game that will be supported. And yeah, that's the thing about hard sci-fi. As science evolves, as science we learn more about the universe, about science, and about new technologies with SpaceX and the cost of SpaceX doing the NASA missions versus NASA's own the billions. Um, call this these shape a hard sci-fi game, which means a lot of revisions, a lot of um, content management, which I'll get into later. Um, so yeah, when you think about 1 billion people spending $1 billion of their out of pocket to buy tabletop game, this is like 1 billion. This is when you think about it, like so that doesn't count the retailers who are taking a percentage of this. So you could say the retailers, if they're adding like the book is 500, the book is $50, or the book is $50, and then the retailer keeps $20. That could be like a 2 billion market. But then you think about all the other um, producers, they're probably less than that. They're they're probably the digital. They could be just comparable to the digital license of the game. So it's that's what's at stake. That's why they made these really corporate speak. That's why they were lying. That's why they were being assholes. So you think about that and you think, okay, so that's what's at stake. Does the community know that's at stake? Does it community know that you're spending 1 billion on just WotC? Does that if the community knew that, what would a self-organizing open community do with that knowledge? So that's one of the things I'm thinking about, and I love thinking about, because this goes into our world building skill sets as gamers, our gamers who love history, and then we're looking at history and we're like, man, like all these things happening, and there's no way to say things could have gone this way and that way. And I'm sure, like, in the chaos of everybody giving their opinion, there's this person that was right, but they just happen to be right because they happen to see certain things a certain way. And of course, there are 9,000 ways that they could have not seen it the right way, as well as to reflect the 9,000 other views. So you have that, uncertainty, and you have that, like, the truth is there, the prediction is there. Then let's use Occam's razor. Let's simplify the factors and think about what will it mean in the future if the community realizes that you are spending X billion a year. Do you want X billion a year to be controlled by a huge corporation that will try to twist your arm any moment it gets? Uh, any opportunity it gets. So you reflect. Do you want that? Have you seen what the other corporations did and how much work it was just to keep them accountable? Or will you change your buying habits? Will you check it out? Will your GM, will your group consider, man, it's really hard to do this. Can we try? Can we try something else? So that's the question, um, that I'm wondering. Like, this scene playing out over thousands of hundreds of thousands of groups or tens of thousands of groups all around the world. Okay, so the 1B is true, and that it's true, it's under monetized. It's true. Our players are not spending. You're the GM, you buy everything. That's okay. It's not bad. But I have friends. Okay. That's not bad. We'll get back to that. So, underdeveloped is the digital gaming. So it begins with the digital gaming. So what does so I'm an IT. I'm IT, and I follow I use Eliyahu Goldrat's um, analysis. So Mr. Goldrat's analysis talked about ERPs, and how back in the 70s people didn't realize how they're using ERPs. When in the 70s, 80s, and when they digitized their accounting, they didn't realize that they still got the data every month. Goldrat said, like, why every month? You can't control things if it's every month. You have it digitized. You can have perpetual meaning live, real time accounting of your performance. Why get it every month if a machine is just the one gonna generate it? You could just generate it every week, every day to measure your performance and then look at the trends. So Goldrat teaches you, or his techniques and his philosophy, like if you watch his videos and you read his books, like it's like, okay, so let's work at what is the limitations and work back, why are we doing things and what limitations it was. So digital gaming allowed us, DTT allowed us, for us Filipinos who have many relatives in the US, um, allows to game with our friends. So Bob and Mike are friends who are in New Jersey and Canada. I don't know where in Canada, but we game with them every week now. Before we couldn't. So it's like it's changed so much, the landscape. And of course, I work with this. I work with platforms, and I realized, like, okay, my most pain point was having to use Microsoft Word to do this and doing all the edits and stuff. And I know there are content management tools in what you call this, in gaming, and then there's some that like Wikipedia automatically consolidates into a book for printing for those people who need that medium, or whose brains are wired for that medium. Uh, so you do realize that this was under monetized. Call this, and with orc, with VDTs having to worry about WotC, thinking that they're gonna squeeze us. Orc gives the framework by which um call this, yeah, I don't have to worry about getting screwed. I'll just have the material, the techniques, and it's just the free market. Which one likes my method of making the digital experience? Um, Most importantly, the content management tools. So content management is like a GM thing, but most important about the content management is the organized play, because in the Philippines right now, every day there are people joining D&D because of organized play. Now, because we're a developing country and we don't have much of a, we don't have much of a, uh, our culture is still developing. We're only talking to each other more recently. All levels of society is talking to each other more recently, and we rely on authority because that's what we were raised with. We did not rely on consensus. We did not rely on knowing each other and getting along with each other. We rely on a third party to issue authority. So that's what WotC is. I give you the authority for organized play. And yeah, that's how it worked. But of course, most societies really evolve past authority based. They work, they develop consensus, they go to consensus because you need feedback, you need to understand why your this group is unsatisfied. You need to it's not a tyranny of the majority, it's not mob rule. So you have this you have this evolution, and it's now more possible with the orc. So imagine if you're developing a digital platform and you're always worried for licenses. Okay, there's orc now. There's orc. I'll make orc. I'll make stuff for orc. And then tools and materials for orc. People will see the other guy doing orc content and like, oh, so this is how to use this app. This is how I can use it for my game. Oh, and I can innovate on that even further. So when you create a game where the players really do matter. Like this guy, I don't know him personally, but I heard what he did in this game is affecting me right now in this game. Uh, he was the one who gave the +1 bonus to this person that made kill the evil lick, and the consequences of that action reverberates into my character and my backstory. And now you have this like organized play wherein content can be easily managed because of the digital tools. Again, how IT, how information technology affects us is a very crucial skill to approach what this is going to do to us. So me as someone struggling to edit, so I'm right now editing to Parsec, and it's like, oh my god, it's so hard. Um, call this. Yeah, these tools will make it better. But most importantly, it will facilitate organized play. So I can encode the effects of each party to the narrative and distribute and disseminate all these effects and weave a narrative that is compelling, that is, that feels good, that makes the players happy. I have friends that play, again, so here's where I'm going to go say, I have friends that play um, 4 or 6 times a week on different groups. He ended up having to spend on Dungeon Spire, and he didn't mind. He ended up, so he's a player and he doesn't have his own books, and now he's spending more, and he can end up spending as much as a dungeon master or a game master, um, because he likes to play. He's an extreme case, but imagine the many people, the many casual gamers, um, playing playing TRPGs, like they would go out for rock climbing. You'd pay for the ability to rock climb, for the tools and techniques to rock climb in a climbing place or a swimming place. You're paying. In the Philippines, we don't have public parks. Like, sometimes you have to pay for access to a public park to support the park, because if you don't, we're a developing country. We have a lot of things that we pay for to experience. And TRPGs becomes one of these tools. So you have your monetization. So 1B will become 4B. Because players are now paying. because the so you created that ecosystem that you have organized people capable of creating organized play and people who want organized play. So so you realize that okay, but organized play is just one of the many gateways, and that will grow. So it is possible, and now that organized play might find its seed in orc, because it made it possible, or because it's now easier to do it. And yeah, if we don't need the authority, if we can wean ourselves away from authority, like oh, only wizards can say this. Only you use consensus, meaning I have a group of people, they wove a really great compelling story. You want to participate in this story? Sure. Of course, we have to pay for the rent of the facility and all this stuff. So, and then of course there's the compensation for the GMs and all the staff. Yeah, sure. My brother runs a LARP, so um, he discusses about it, and my mom discusses about his operations. It's like, so it's it's interesting. Um, it's interesting that this business of being a GM is now more real than ever, more achievable than ever. And the tools allow as a force multiplier. It allows me to handle a larger group of people. Still, I have a bottleneck of GMs per session, but I can, if you're very process oriented and you're very quality oriented, you can like develop that. But so basically, you're creating a career path for someone to do basically like my brother, who's like one of the people in charge of um their LARP, called it's Beyond the Fall. So it's so you this is a future where yeah, me and my brother would have had a chance to be full time GMs. But my brother's doing that. I'm not. So it is the dream, um, to love GMing and to do it, and to love weaving stories and meeting people and having working their story into the grand tapestry. That's like, oh my god, that's amazing. Okay, so this, what does that mean? These are players like my brother. They pay to play in the LARP. You have people paying to participate in in this story, and you have tools to manage this content, so you're not spending all night editing the new changes of the story from last session. You have a much easier set of tools. So so what's happening, it's you you have your 4 billion, you have that underutilization. But that's not just that. Orc is a really open license, and the skill set, and I've watched videos of Indians and Chinese playing, and like I'm imagining like okay, and of course Africa being the next billion population, uh is already a billion, but like being the one of the largest uh population, of course is us, Southeast Asia. You're going to see like organized play of different cultures, and that, I don't know, for me that's fascinating. It's fascinating because it's like, why, like, it is stuff that I've never thought of. I've never imagined, like, imagine, like, I can't imagine a Bollywood or Chinese cinema version of organized play. Like, what kind of stories will they tell? It's ours but different. But what's the different part? What's that variable? What's that X? Solve for X. So that's one of the things that's fascinating me about what does orc mean. So let's go back to the very beginning with Ryan Dancy in, uh, 23 years ago. They didn't foresee that opening gaming would result in 1B. It was far beyond. They were only thinking about the stuff of that time. And of course, they didn't foresee all the technology that will come with AI, with Chat GPT, in our reality, in our cyber futuristic TL9 in GURPS, or call this NEAM development era of 9. It's 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 AI generating worlds. It's GMs managing more players, or and people being able to create games on the fly. It might even affect computer gaming because AI and Godot and all these other stuff make me this game. Convert my content from this into a game world using the prompts. Okay, let me edit it. Let me fine tune this. Okay, or this group, let my company edit and create this virtual world. So it's, imagine these tools 20 years from now, 2043 or 2046 or 2045 or 2050, and I'm like imagining like, oh wow, so you GM for a living, and it's like, yeah, and I made this world, and they show you the world. Like, yeah, I got this inspiration over these, like obscure Chinese, Indian, African, Middle Eastern, um, call this Turkic, all these cultures. Like, oh my god, like these things I've never thought of, and these worlds that are so alien to me that there is that exploration aspect of TRPGs. So yeah, so this is me uh, making conclusions now that I realize that we're spending this much, and this much money can fuel this kind of economy, and this kind of economy can make these kinds of experiences, um, these kinds of enjoyment, these kinds of socializing uh, possible. And yeah, so that's basically what I think about the future. And of course, I could be totally wrong. I could be totally missing the mark. I could be um, one of the thousands of people who did not understand some key underlying factors. But I like dreaming of big stuff, and I like writing about sci-fi. So it's like, um, of course, it's not going to be free. I could already predict that it's going to fracture. That's why I wrote here that if the community is complacent, the ability to keep living on organized by a massive scale, where they keep all the profits to grow, is at stake. If you're complacent, then yeah, what is gonna elbow you out of there? They're gonna control it, and I could foresee that like a year from now or within this year, they'll elbow the community. They will have great psyops and kind of like get people bickering, and we are what we are. Um, and it and with all that bickering, we have to rely on our community leaders, and the community leaders being human. If you have 20 community leaders, their character statistically, how many will fail that role, or are they're economically not in a position to give in, like people complaining about Critical Role not saying enough, but Critical Role is right now financially engaged with WotC, so they cannot speak out. So you'll have out of those 20 people who are considered community leaders, unable to like stop it, or unable to give clear-minded, clear-headed advice, um, or voice their support without strong financial penalties. So yeah, I could see that happening. I could see this all failing. I could see call this WotC crippling this. They will retrieve their 4B, but after 20 years, stifling it. I could see that the status quo will be there. WotC being 4B after 10 years, and the community only a small percentage of that, probably like 5.5B of open game content and stuff. And it becomes like a weird thing, and then it's going to be highly commercialized, and you could see like um, reality TV kind of um, reality TV kind of um, outrage management and generation. You can see like live plays where everything's really scripted, and it's just designed to generate outrage on the audience. It's designed to like squeeze the audience to spend more, creating like the green and blue factions in Roman in the Byzantine era. Like it's meant to just to generate as much money as possible, and that is probably like 90% chance that will happen. That's like community leaders being fiscally like bound by WotC. That's that's every story told. And of course, if you find that disappointing, that's how I gym. I give you like the freaking like what a corporation would do and what it will be very most likely be effective on, and the dice will reflect your odds. So um, so yeah, that is most likely the case, but I love and that's why I still pursue open source projects. That's why I still do what I do. I still teach students. I still uh, work on it. Uh, was that what the Stockdale paradox? The guy who survived the Vietnam War prison camps. Like you have to be honest. Faith in succeeding means being honest, being honest about the work that needs. And the society as it as now, with its with its factions and its people fighting over petty things and being, of course, everyone suffering mentally, everyone having poor attention, unable to read, people that they should not trust, um, uh, and content being created to affect their mood, affect their outrage, you cannot but help empathize on the weakness and how much of a struggle it is to make the right decision. Um, so many things have to go right for this future where we have GMs creating worlds with AI and automation where they can lose their build a community around. Oh, we love this shared narrative and create a community of people who care about each other, or people who just need this space to rewire their brain from very toxic, evil cycles in their life. So I have friends who are into mental health and using games for therapy. So you have this potential, but you have huge corporations that are organized, and you have people who all are struggling to make a living, and they're all distracted, and no one. It is the odds of them organizing and agreeing has so many factors in play. So yeah, it this is the idealistic future that is unlikely, but you work towards it. So if the realistic would be the 4 billion eventually 20 years from now, and probably point 0.4 billion or point 0.2 billion, or where a small niche of gamers who are not in the mainstream using ORC and or using GPL version 3 gaming, creating worlds with more limited tools. It's not as flashy as the one that WotC bankrolled with billions of dollars. Um, but it's like they own it, and because they're open source, the larger corporations will steal their ideas and um, incorporate it and make their product better. But this group with like more meager resources, with more lean and efficient systems, is just struggling, and no one really cares because they're all just trying to distract themselves with the painful reality that they live in, and they will pour money into the larger corporations that are going to like monetize this hobby, and that is like history rhyming over and over again. So that's one of the things I realize about the future. It's not so bad. I mean, I hope I'm part of that small group. But and anyway, I have a job in IT anyway, so it's not. I mean, it's a disappointing realistic future that I can probably game around. I could even make it a premise. It's something I can live with. Uh, And yeah, it every idealistic utopia that we could have had, where we would tolerate each other, accept each other's points of views and stuff. And that's an ideal that will have to uh, have survived so many probabilities of complete and utter failure. So yeah, that's why it's easy to you can appreciate what good you have because so many things had to have gone right for you to have that good. But gratefulness can go only so far. So there. I hope you like my long-winded analysis. Call this. Yeah, and I hope you um call this at least participate in the chance that this might turn out well. And even if it doesn't, like we did this because we believe in its cause, we believe in this, and we tried. And it's that thing wherein you're who you are, your actions tell you who you are. And it's not bad. I mean, even if you fail, I mean, the odds were against you, so it is a mark of character that you tried. It's like at the end of the day, like he did this when these were the stakes, or she or he did this, and that's one of the things like what I like about like what I like telling. I mean, characters that died and having like very challenging odds. Like, yeah, we do this, and despite these odds, because these were the stakes. There. So yeah, I hope you guys have a good day and call this have a yeah, have a good day and enjoy your gaming.